The Denver Broncos just signed a special teams standout that I think Sean Payton is going to make fantastic use of this season. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I'm a diehard Broncos fan, born and raised in the suburbs of Denver, Thornton to be exact. And during COVID, my family and I moved to Michigan, so now I'm in the heart of Lions country, and I miss talking Broncos with all my boys, so I started this channel. If you're new here, it helps me out a lot. If you would hit that like and subscribe button, and let's dive into the great news of the day, and that is that Sean Payton has really emphasized how this new kickoff is going to be totally different. The kickoff went from being kind of like a symbolic thing that you could go refill your drink or hit up the bathroom and miss a whole commercial break and come back, or if you're DVRing the game or watching on YouTube TV, you can pause and fast forward. Well, now Sean Payton is predicting like double-digit touchdown returns because of how this new kickoff setup works, that you no longer are going to have guys who have to sprint down the length of the field to make a tackle. Instead, you almost have like a little line of scrimmage, and we've covered that multiple times here. And so the type of player on a kickoff coverage is just going to be totally different. I'm expecting much bigger guys, and if you look at the XFL, that is exactly what you see. And so the Denver Broncos went out today, and they signed a linebacker who just excels at the special teams. We're going to take a look at some of his numbers here in a second. His name is Andre Smith. He most recently played for the Falcons, and the Denver Broncos were able to procure him without tampering, which the Falcons, unfortunately, just lost a draft pick for tampering with Kirk Cousins in the offseason. But the Denver Broncos went out and they got Andre Smith. Now, Andre Smith has a couple tie-overs with some coaches as he has bounced around the NFL, including time with the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, Sean Payton connection there. And looking last year, he played 11 games with the Falcons and had 19 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. So the question becomes, do we think that this is going to be a potential Josey Jewell replacement? Is he going to be playing like starting linebacker? Will he get any reps with that, or will he be relegated just to the special teams unit? He was a 7th-round draft pick back in 2018. Played a ton of games, and that's just a theme that you're seeing over and over, that while we're adding youth, our youth that we're adding have a ton of NFL experience, and that is great. That's changing the energy around here. And looking here that he does seem to be a tackling machine and be able to have a fumble recovery and a forced fumble is fantastic. He was part of the group. Yesterday was the last day of organized team activities for the Denver Broncos, and they brought in a whole slew of dudes for tryouts. And I didn't even mention them in yesterday's video because I thought with all the depth that we had, none of those guys had a single chance at actually making this roster. But he must have totally shown out here. And so that's very good news here for us. And again, so we see here Chris Thomason is saying that he thinks this is maybe looking to replace Josey Jewell. I think the most likely scenario is that while he has played and actually started as linebacker, the bulk of his snaps have been on special teams. Like looking last year, 69% of the special teams plays for the Atlanta Falcons he was in. And looking back here, he seems to be a special team standout. Now, if he could be a big bruiser with the old kickoff rules, imagine what he's going to do now when he can be right on that line of scrimmage. And essentially that is the type of tackling the returner in this new kickoff rule. I think the linebacker is going to be king. They're the ones who, you need to be big enough to be able to shed the block of probably an offensive lineman on the blocking squad. So you're not, a small little corner or safety isn't really going to be able to make a difference, and a defensive lineman isn't going to be fast enough to keep up with a shifty running back or receiver, whoever's returning that kick. So I think there's a really good chance that we see him showing out on this Denver Broncos kickoff return or kickoff coverage. Just looking at why I don't think he is a great replacement for Josey Jewell. He's a fairly slight guy. He's only 6 foot nothing, and his RAS score is not popping off the charts to me when I look at that. And I think we have our Josey Jewell replacement, and all we need is for him to stay healthy, and that is Jonas Griffith. He was the very first move the Denver Broncos made during this offseason. It was February, and it was the very first move they made, and I don't think that is an accident whatsoever. I think the Broncos wanted to lock him in. Again, I've covered him multiple times here, but man, he is a absolute house. Like, he's huge, 6'4", 250. He's the type of guy, someone dropped a comment the other day, we need a sideline-to-sideline guy who can stop the run. I think that is Jonas Griffith. His 40, for someone that big, like, he can move, and I'm very, very excited about him. And just looking at what's unique about him was that he was homeschooled up until his senior year of high school. That was the first time he actually played organized football, and he didn't even know about huddle or any of those things to like send your tape to teams. And he had major programs like Kentucky and Cincinnati and tons of teams who just noticed him because in his very first football game ever, he had interception return for a touchdown, and then he had several touchdown catches as a tight end that year. And just a crazy, unique kid. He talks about in this interview on the Denver Broncos website that his hobbies are he plays the piano by ear, and he's been playing since he was 6 years old. So just a really unique guy, and being a homeschool kid who plays the piano, you just know he's going to be a smart type of dude who can pick up this defense. And I'm really, really high on him. And I think we could, before Alex Singleton was, part of the Bash Brothers, Alex Singleton was actually his backup, and Jonas Griffith got hurt, but Jonas Griffith was supposed to be our starter. His injuries were not related or correlated with each other whatsoever, and all the hopes in Broncos country are that he will be back and better than ever. And here's this awesome article here that he didn't send any of his tape out. He didn't go from university to university trying to get staff to notice him. They found out that he worked hard just by watching his team, his high school team, start out 4-0 and getting letters from Kentucky, Louisville, Cincinnati, and other massive schools. So very high on him. I mean, if we can have a 6'4" linebacker who's faster than Josey Jewell, man, watch out, because the sky is the absolute limit with him. So I do not think our new linebacker is going to be in the mix for starting linebacker unless we see injuries with Jonas Griffith, which we will knock on wood that we do not have. Other great news here. We hear so much about how bad the Russell Wilson deal was and how handicapped we're going to be because of that for years and years to come. But the fact of the matter is that with the salary cap going up, every single new quarterback deal that gets done pushes that Russ deal further and further and further down. And we know we bit off the massive chunk of Russell Wilson's $85 million cap hit this year with 53. All we got to do is eat 32 next year. And if Bo Nix hits, we're in beautiful shape for years to come, because today, what is his name? Trevor Lawrence set the bar even higher, as he and Joe Burrow are tied for the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. He just got his absolute bag here, getting $55 million per year. Just a huge, huge deal there. $200 million over the life of the contract. $142 million signing bonus, which sounds great if you can get it. And now we're just looking here are top 5 highest paid. Notice Russell Wilson is not on that list, which is awesome. And then knowing that this summer, and really even going into this year, we're going to have Tua Tagovailoa, who's dropping pounds like he's on Ozempic or something like that. Him, Jordan Love are both up for a deal. Dak Prescott is up for a deal. And so we're just going to see more and more guys getting massive deals, which make the Russell Wilson cap hit just not a big deal to navigate anymore. And looking the Jaguars in a very similar situation to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have all of their money tied up in 2 or 3 players, because the Jacksonville Jaguars also made a massive deal with Josh Allen, not Josh Allen, the quarterback, Josh Allen, the edge rusher. So I love the fact that we're going to be competing with these dudes for a wild card playoff spot, and the more money they can have invested in pretty boy Mr. Sunshine is good news for all Denver fans. Last great piece of good news. I love all of these dudes at DNVR. I love the dudes here at 104.3 The Fan here. But what a lot of people have been saying is that Bo Nix's OTAs ended badly. And some people are framing that as oh, we need him to have struggles, which I agree with. But man, to say that Bo Nix is struggling, I just think is a drastic overstatement, because he had 1 interception in 7-on-7 drills. And that is just that. I mean, that was the first time that he's thrown a pick. And I remember 104.3 The Fan, Cecil Lammey, when they were covering Russell Wilson's first training camp with the Denver Broncos, there was multiple picks a day that he was throwing. And so Bo Nix having 1 interception over all the time that the media have been there watching him throw, that's not a bad day, especially when you look at stuff like this, that the Seahawks had their OTAs, and there were 6 interceptions of Geno Smith and Sam Howell. And so you're talking that's 6 interceptions in one day, and we get to play them on opening day, which is just fantastic news right there for the Denver Broncos. And it just puts in perspective, man, if Bo Nix throws 1 interception when you got Pat Surtain, our beast safeties out there, that's just a really good thing. And then even just looking here, Chicago Bears did 7-on-7 drills, and what a 7-on-7 drill is you don't have any pass rushers. It's all just your corners, your linebackers, and then obviously you have a receiver and your wide receivers there, or your receivers and your running back there. And so seeing here, Caleb Williams had an awful 7-on-7 and was holding the ball for coverage sacks when all of his players were just single covered. And single coverage in the NFL is like a layup. And so here in that the number one overall generational talent that everyone is hyping up in Caleb Williams had probably a worse camp than Bo Nix did, is really good news for the Broncos, and I think puts all of this in perspective. That we don't need to be down. Here it is, 7-on-7. Williams completed just 3 passes in 7-on-7 drills, and he's got like some studs at wideout, right? With Keenan Allen, I feel like I could throw a completion to Keenan Allen. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. How many would I would have more than 3, Caleb, and my nails aren't even painted, bro. I guess here, Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze didn't participate, so I would only have 4 completions in 7-on-7, but great time to be a Broncos fan. The sky is truly the limit. We have hit rock bottom, and we are bouncing up so hard, and that is something that we all can believe. Needed to nail that so you guys would believe me about the 7-on-7 chances.